Hello all. In this video, we will learn the opposite words. So let's start. Day. The opposite word of day is night. Hot. The opposite word of hot is cold. Left. The opposite word of left is right. Up. The opposite word of up is down. Big. The opposite word of big is small. Open. The opposite word of open is closed. Black. The opposite word of black is white. Right. The opposite word of right is wrong. Boy. The opposite word of boy is girl. Man. The opposite word of man is woman. Outside. The opposite word of outside is inside. Sit. The opposite word of sit is stand. Fat. The opposite word of fat is thin. Old. The opposite word of old is young. Front. The opposite word of front is back. Bad. The opposite word of bad is good. Tall. The opposite word of tall is short. Full. The opposite word of full is empty. Start. The opposite word of start is finish. Under. The opposite word of under is over. Hard. The opposite word of hard is soft. Top. The opposite word of top is bottom. Fast. The opposite word of fast is slow. Near. The opposite word of near is far. Turn on. The opposite word of turn on is turn off. Strong. The opposite word of strong is weak. Brother. The opposite word of brother is sister. Husband. The opposite word of husband is wife. Happy. The opposite word of happy is sad. Dirty. The opposite word of dirty is clean. Pull. The opposite word of pull is push. Dry. The opposite word of dry is wet. Alike. The opposite word of alike is different. Work. The opposite word of work is play. In front of. The opposite word of in front of is behind. Light. The opposite word of light is dark. Sleep. The opposite word of sleep is awake. To come. The opposite word of to come is to go. Parents. The opposite word of parents is children. Sick. The opposite word of sick is healthy. Whole. The opposite word of whole is part. Float. The opposite word of float is sink. Heaven. The opposite word of heaven is hell. Angel. The opposite word of angel is devil. Kind. The opposite word of kind is cruel. Friends. The opposite word of friends is enemies. Cry. The opposite word of cry is laugh. Simple. The opposite word of simple is complex. Opaque. The opposite word of opaque is transparent. Visible. The opposite word of visible is invisible. Noisy. The opposite word of noisy is quiet. Angry. The opposite word of angry is calm. Brave. The opposite word of brave is afraid. Heavy. The opposite word of heavy is light. Sweet. The opposite word of sweet is sour. Wealthy. The opposite word of wealthy is poor. Above. The opposite word of above is below. Together. The opposite word of together is apart. Win. The opposite word of win is lose. Thanks for watching this video. Bye.